All right, welcome back everybody here. And as you can see, the CTO and the CEO of NIS are here with me on the stage. Before I actually ask questions, there's one, not a question, but a remark that I didn't have time to cover from the last session when you were talking. I have to say that. I have to read this to you. And I think everybody who know Petteri would fully agree what this remark is saying. I just wanted to share my opinion. I think Petteri is one of the smartest guys I know. Also, I admire his passion. I think we're very, very much also agree with this as well. So I just really wanted to read that positive comment before we kick off with the session. So,
Well, I really don't know what to say. I feel very humble. But yeah, thank you.
Just enjoy.
Yeah, just agree with this. All right, so our topic especially sustainability side, but I'm going to start asking maybe a question from you, Ville. What motivated NIS to prioritize sustainability for X-Road, and why is it seen as a critical for digital governance infrastructure today?
Yeah, that's a wide question, and I hope I can partially answer it in a few sentences. But for NIS, of course, when we are an association which has as its members countries, those countries have committed into sustainability. So it means commitment into the common global plans like the Sustainable Development Goals, which are like chartered by the United Nations. So the reasons for NIS thinking about these sustainability topics is coming actually from our members' agendas in that way. And for NIS and X-Road, it further means that with X-Road we have to consider what kind of an impact does it have. And one year we noticed that actually X-Road was a source of CO2 emissions, which was one kind of a finding that made us think that we have to work on its environmental sustainability. At the same time, we have become more and more aware that X-Road also has a strong social impact worldwide. It has both positive and negative impacts in some cases. And in all areas of sustainability, it is not like black and white. It's a topic area which is actually very difficult or challenging. And we try to consider all of these environmental, social, and also the governance sustainability of X-Road as a product. That's maybe how we have been approaching it.
All right. Also a question to you, Petteri. As electricity costs are predicted to rise, we all have seen this already in the past couple of years, and the CEO, too, emissions should be reduced in electricity production. What strategies does NIS have in place to reduce X-Road's electricity consumption? And this is actually the question that I've been asked a lot of times when I've been talking about our e-government solution. It's like, okay, this is great and you can do a lot of good things for the environment, but what about the electricity cost here? Because you have a lot of systems up and running. I mean, when we talk about especially a larger case in the e-government sector, like in a larger case, but especially the NIS examples, maybe that side.
Yeah, that's actually a really complicated question. Maybe the question is not complicated, but the answer certainly is. So first of all, there are several things that NIS can be done, and then more importantly also the X-Road users can do. So since NIS is the developer of the X-Road software, we can develop the software so that it will consume less electricity. So try to optimize the source code so that it becomes more efficient. And then every X-Road user will of course benefit from that. But that's only one aspect. And there are other aspects that can be even more efficient. So, like I said, we develop the software, but we don't run it. The X-Road users in different countries around the world run it. And actually the users, they need to make a lot of choices when it comes to the infrastructure and the environment where they run the software, and those choices affect the electricity consumption. For example, how many security servers they provision. So for example, if you have a service that is very popular during the daytime, let's say in the afternoon between 12 and 2, do you provision your security servers based on that load so that you run the same number of security servers also at night when there are no users? Or do you run only the maximum number during the daytime and then scale down at night. So that kind of choices only as a one example. And then also the X-Road operators that run the X-Road ecosystems and define the rules and policies that the members must follow. In some X-Road ecosystems, it might be forbidden to use public cloud to host security servers, while public cloud when it comes to the environmental aspects, it would be a better choice compared to on-premise solutions.
In a lot of countries that are actually operating, these countries have a very large strategies by themselves as well. Like, I mean, if you think about also renewable energy methods as well, like, is there any also strategy from these, like, to, especially if you think about your, like, who are you working with and everything, that you see more and more, and also like when it comes to electricity, that they're using more of the renewable energy methods there as well, or is there any connection there largely as well, or maybe Ville, you can add it up here.
I was just about to pick the same topic actually,
Okay.
just a few seconds ago.
Yeah.
First of all, we have to remember that X-Road is now deployed in 20 plus countries, and the community has members from, I think, 140 plus countries. And not all countries are doing similarly in regards to green energy. So we never actually know in what kind of conditions X-Road is deployed. If we think about, let's say, Nordic countries, it's no longer a question of carbon neutral electricity production, it's actually a question about carbon negative, what the data center people are talking about. And that leads to the conclusion that we have to consider the global impact of X-Road, not only our local impact, because it definitely will be there. And besides that, sometimes I hear the argument that, okay, guys, so you are talking about green energy, why do you do that? Because it's all going to be green, and then you don't have to think about that kind of optimization at all. But like Petteri was explaining, it includes operations, which always cause costs. So there is always the money factor, even if we remove the CO2 factor. So it's beneficial for many reasons.
There is a lot of questions that I have prepared from my side, but let's actually give a chance for our audience to also ask questions, as we have received already plenty of them as well. Question number one. It actually comes from Japan. We are building X-Road environment in Japan. I don't know if that's from Japan or just a company that is building something for Japan. So the first question: what should local governments and companies refer when they are creating operational rules to follow when operating X-Road in other countries? I have also heard that ISKE, I hope I pronounced that correctly, is transitioning to ITS. That's right. Which one of you would like to? The local government and companies when they are creating the operational system.
Well, yeah, I can start. So first about ISKE, I think it's a security framework or regulation in Estonia. But yeah, I don't know more about that, unfortunately. But in general, I think that countries that are planning to deploy X-Road, and then when considering about the operational framework and policies, is of course first they need to look their own requirements and their own policies on a country level, because they need to be aligned with them. And then secondly, look to the best practices from the X-Road community, from countries that have already implemented X-Road, for example, Estonia, Finland, Iceland, any other countries. And then based on that, they can see what kind of requirements they have coming from their own policies, regulations, laws, and then see that have the other countries that are already using X-Road, have they done something differently, and could those things be applied to their operational environment as well?
Yeah, learning for the great examples is definitely very, very essential that you also brought it out. And I think having a very ambitious goals, like in terms of also sustainability, again, if we use the government services online, is important. Do you have any studies for the fact in different governments users of X-Road that it would actually reduce IT costs to the efficiency gain from their IT processes to streamlining siloed services, somewhat a return of on investment analysis for the implementation of the X-Road? Any studies that you can bring it out?
I could start with that. First of all, this question reminds me of some discussions I have had during the years, that Well, when you start discussing X-Road, quite often the word technology pops up, and it's about IT project and deploying technology, but actually it's about renewing your digital government processes and traditional government processes. So that's part of X-Road's social impact, how it's actually enhancing processes in some countries and cultures where there is like big need for reforming the government and getting smooth, transparent, trustworthy processes. So X-Road is actually contributing 80% more outside of the technology box. And I think that's partially an answer to the question about how it impacts and what is the effectiveness. So calculating like real benefits of X-Road deployment in money is a very complicated task. But anyway, considering the bigger reform for any government with X-Road, I mean, it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, I mean, I think people always, when they want to implement something new, want to know the numbers and really concrete statistics about. And I think also, I mean, how much time do you save? Again, how much actually does it do good for the environment?
But for X-Road part only, we have of course released the cost calculators. So in the X-Road website, any organization can make an estimate about how much would it cost to deploy X-Road, and that's already a good basis for a business case. So you can calculate your possible investment for X-Road only and other investments required besides it, because it's not usually X-Road only.
You brought it up before also the day and the night use, and there is a question related to this as well. Do you notice the patterns of day use and night use in the digital realms changing into constant usage?
This is maybe for you.
Yeah, that's a good question, and in my opinion, especially the night use, it's related to the fact that data is still transferred periodically as batches, and that kind of transfers typically take place at night. And then when we talk about real-time data usage or data transfer, it happens when the services are actually being used, which means that probably it's between 9 a.m. and 12 p.m., but not so much at the night time. So if we think that we are moving from the batch-based processes towards the real-time service usage, then it's probably going into that direction, that the nighttime usage is getting lower, and then the daytime usage is getting higher.
Well, that makes total sense. From the sustainability consideration, do you plan to improve the energy consumption needed to operate the X-Road, or do you mean to add capabilities to use X-Road to track ESG indicators, for example, having functionalities to track carbon emission across the supply chain using X-Road or others? And thank you already from that question as well.
Would you like to start?
I can start. So first of all, we are trying to lower the carbon footprint of the X-Road software. So we implement changes to the software so that it would produce less carbon emissions. But the current challenge with that is kind of the part where we verify our changes. So of course we know what kind of changes we have to implement. We are also able to implement those changes, but it's surprisingly complicated to reliably measure actually the amount of emissions that software is producing. And in order to say that yes, this X-Road version will produce less carbon emissions compared to the older one, we should be able to measure it. And that's something that we are not currently able to do, but as my colleague Raido said earlier during his talk, that's an area where we are currently looking into how to measure it and how to automate the measurements so that we would be better aware of the impact of the changes that we are implementing.
This is also partly related to my presentation in the same event last year. I think I was then speaking about this idea of taking X-Road towards an ecosystem of ecosystems model in collecting the operational data of X-Road ecosystems around the world. Because, yeah, now I've often said that we are developing a software which has end users to the number of 370 million people, but we don't have any visibility inside the software and how it's operated. So actually, we don't get enough data about how it's technically run. And that data definitely would help us also in understanding better what can we do in the development of X-Road in terms of environmental impacts, in terms of optimizing its use. All of these topics are related to each other.
But NICE also has identified very specifically, actually, sustainable development goals, that's how it's called, the SDG, to which X-Road contributes. Can you give some of the examples of these SDG? I will just try to sum it up, how X-Road features or projects contribute to these goals.
Yes, first of all, I'm very bad in remembering the numbers of the SDGs by heart.
That's okay.
Anyway, as topic areas to which X-Road contributes, I think the most significant one is definitely how it's helping to build sustainable government. It enables governments to have a data exchange which is secure. You can be guaranteed about the non-repudiation. You can have logging of the messages. You can build very secure data exchange with X-Road. And that is a tool for reducing corruption, enabling smoother administrational processes, and so on and so on. So the contributions of X-Road are very fundamental. And actually, I find that this is the part which is contributing to many other SDGs as well. It's a kind of fundament for your government how to do many other things.
Petri, let's talk a little bit about the security server components as well. Could you provide some insights into the findings from recent projects that assessed the energy consumption of the security server component of the X-Road?
Yeah, so I think it was already a couple of years ago, we had a project during which we built an emissions calculator for X-Road. So what you can do with the calculator is that you can evaluate the amount of emissions that a single security server produces or a number of security servers use. So basically, X-Road members, individual member organizations can use it to evaluate their emissions, but also X-Road operators can use it to evaluate the emissions of a whole X-Road ecosystem. And it's a very easy to use tool. It's based on Excel, and you just have to give in a couple of parameters, number of security servers, type of deployment, cloud or on-premise, and amount of data to exchange, and then amount of data to be stored. That's it, and then the Excel calculator will do the rest of you. And if you need to configure some parameters, it's possible to also change the details that are used to do the calculations, which means that the calculator isn't specific to Finland or Estonia, but you can actually use it anywhere in the world, because some of the numbers that affect the result, for example, how clean the grid electricity it's different in every country. So you need to be able to change the number based on the country where you are. But that's available on xroad.global, free of charge. We hope that you try it out, and we are really happy to receive feedback.
Great. So, Ville, we actually talk a little bit about the stakeholders as well that you work with. Engaging various stakeholders is very essential for obvious reasons, and especially when it comes to any kind of sustainable initiative as well. How does NICE plan to collaborate and engage with these stakeholders to achieve its sustainability goals through the working through the X-Road as well?
Yeah, it really requires us to communicate with multiple stakeholders. I mean, I already explained how we need our members and their own goals, and we need the community members and their countries and understand the global goals. And what I've learned is that actually the sustainable development goals are the kind of global framework that we can lean on in all of these activities, and it is something which is uniting majority of the organizations working in the field of sustainability and also in sustainable IT. And one specific stakeholder I would like to mention, or an organization which is really important for us, is the Digital Public Goods Alliance. I don't know if Petteri agrees with my observation, but I think when X-Road was identified as a digital public good, it was a kind of wake-up call for us as well to find that, yes, there are areas we have to work in, and it's also kind of forum which has helped us to work in that field. So X-Road has been, I think, since 2020, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, 2020, I think.
Yeah, a digital public good. So you can check the Digital Public Goods Alliance website, and it's really interesting stuff, and they have plenty of building blocks available for building your digital government solutions. And it's a fascinating initiative. I recommend checking it.
And then especially for countries that are like in a process of starting the very first services and doing everything. So I think for them it's especially important when you already start with this, you consider all these things in the first place, right?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah. So follow-up question also, like when we talk about the environmental like sustainability, this is just one of the aspects there. But what other areas of sustainability needs focusing right now as part of the X-Road, like I would say broader sustainability vision as well? Any other great examples that you would like to bring it out?
Yeah, actually, when we think about the ESG scope, environmental social governance, I think the environmental is sometimes a little bit overrepresented in many discussions because it's the thing which is crucial for everyone globally, and it's very easy to jump into it. But when you jump into it, as Petteri said, the complexity is just starting. But with the rest of it, meaning the social and the governance sides, well, first of all, as NIS, being the development organization for X-Road, for us it's important to consider the future and the sustainable operating model for NIS and X-Road to be trustworthy developer also in the future and keep our promises to the global community of X-Road users. And when we think about the social impacts, it's still a field which has not been studied very deeply, in my opinion. So I would really welcome academic research on the social impacts of X-Road and what it actually means and what kind of considerations are needed when deploying X-Road, because it's impacting everything in your society if it's a wide-scale deployment of X-Road. But I think it's still rare to find lots of academic research in that field.
You're really helping me to jump on the next question.
Great.
So are you participating in any way of updating also high school or university curriculums that are not keeping students well informed about these contexts as well, like the digital context and especially sustainability when we talk about like the platforms as well and how well they are working?
Yeah, universities and schools is an interesting area because we have tried to collaborate with many universities. I think both Petteri and I have been visiting universities and meeting with students and proposing topics for a master's thesis or whatever. And we have not been very successful with that, to be honest. And it feels that X-Road either it is or it feels like a complicated topic for many students to start with. But we can guarantee it is not that complicated as it feels. And we have a long list of research topics actually available for any university students who are willing to start with it. So you can always reach out to us and we are happy to provide you with topics. Very interesting ones, I can guarantee.
I personally feel like when it comes to the new generation that every new generation is actually cares even more about this. So it's especially I think having like these things also taught in school, like it's so essential when it comes to our future leaders, so that they need to know about that. Even if we will continue and more of things will stay online and will work online, that we also think about like what it actually does for our planet, because there is never one thing that is good for everything, but we also have to think about the negative aspects there. So maybe to wrap it up, like one question for both of you. If you could give some of the recommendation from your side as well when it comes to any other data exchange platforms working around the world. We talked about a lot about also Gaia-X, for example, in Europe and everything. And like especially when you think about like the X-Road system is already used in 20 different countries. And I think the kind of quality or the goal or ambition level is very different when it comes to sustainability goals. So you as the CTO and CEO of NIS, what would be your recommendation when it comes to, let's say we're talking to a policymaker in this other state, either is this a government institution or a private sector institution who is designing this kind of strategies and goals, what would be your key message to them, like what they need to keep in mind when it comes to especially sustainability?
Would you like to start?
Well, I think the most important thing, as in many other things, is starting. So not just thinking about it, but actually starting to work on it, starting to look into it. It's, at least by my personal experience, at least in the beginning, it may seem very complex topic, even confusing. A lot of information is available from different sources, and especially if you are looking it as a software engineer, software architect, it's quite challenging to find the information that you are looking for, but of course for policymakers the challenge is a little bit different. But I'd say that starting to work on it and start looking into it, and then based on that you need to set your goal, your ambition level, and start to work on it and progress step by step, not try to eat the whole elephant once.
And your recommendation, like if we already got started and we're about to set the goals, what would be the first 2 things that you will write down on a paper? What needs to be done? Let's say you're an advisor of this policymaker, a very senior level policymaker. You're going to go on this table and you're going to be, these are the first things that need to be on the list.
Yeah, my first recommendation would be definitely to set a framework, which would be the Sustainable Development Goals. Because you need a planetary level thinking in these questions. It's not a local problem, it's a planetary problem. That's how they describe it. So actually what is needed is really to have a good framework on which you can lean in all of your activities, to have an understanding that if it really does matter and if it has an impact. My second recommendation is similar to what Petteri said, that it's better not to get stuck into details. So you have to split your project, you have to understand how to make step by step some achievements and progress, and not to try to solve it all at once because you never get to do it. So just piece by piece moving into the right direction, it's much better than having a huge project which is never actually succeeding.
Yeah. Then I would say let's go for the right direction when it comes to sustainability and better and greener tomorrow, because that's the planet is so great that we need to make sure that this planet also lasts for a lot of other also generations. I would maybe just read the very last, very short, nice comment, and then we can wrap it up slowly here. Somebody has wrote a very nice message to us here and saying good insights on the sustainability of the X-Road and sending us also regards. So that's very sweet of you. And thank you once again for everybody who have sent us all of your different kind of questions. They were absolutely great today. And I would actually like to say a very big thank you for Ville and also Petteri, that you both shared your knowledge. And seriously, congratulations on the job that you're doing, again, in order to make our planet more green, even if we use this kind of electricity and everything. But I'm pretty sure that when we work together with different countries, especially here in the Nordic side of the world, where I feel like this is a priority for us because nature is us, and definitely good luck with your future also work as well. So thank you very much from my side.
Thank you, Anette.
Thank you.